Welcome back, learner. I want you to think about the last time you made a minor mistake.
Yeah, like dropping your keys on the way out the door.
Right, or, sending an email with a typo to your boss. What was the exact sentence that flashed through your head in that split second?
Usually it's not very kind.
No, it's not. Was it forgiving? Probably not. I mean, if you are like most people, we walk around all day with this relentless, invisible critic in our heads.
Absolutely. We spend so much energy, like an incredible amount of time, searching outside of ourselves for solutions.
Yeah, trying to feel better. We look for strength or happiness or some kind of direction in our careers, and we expect to find it out there in the physical world.
Right, we buy new things, we chase new achievements.
We ask friends for advice, just hoping that something external will finally click and, fix the internal noise. But today, our deep dive into the sources is exploring a concept that completely flips that script.
It really does.
We are looking at the quiet internal mechanics of how you can fundamentally alter the trajectory of your life. And the crazy part, it's simply by changing the way you speak to yourself.
Because that internal noise is exactly the battleground. And to be clear right up front, we aren't talking about throwing on a pair of rose-colored glasses here.
Right. No toxic positivity.
Exactly, no blind optimism. What we are really diving into today is a highly structured process of mental reprogramming.
Yeah.
It is about understanding the actual neurobiological mechanics of your own mind and how language is literally the code that writes the software.
I love that framing. And to help us understand this coding process, we have a really interesting stack of sources on the desk today for you.
Me too.
We're looking at text excerpts titled The Power of Affirmations. And alongside that text, we have this absolutely fascinating image of a book spread.
Yeah, the bilingual one.
Exactly. It's a bilingual book, so you have English on the left page and Vietnamese on the right, introducing this very concept side by side.
Which is so cool to see.
Right. The English heading reads, Introduction, The Power of Affirmations. And the Vietnamese side perfectly mirrors it. Just seeing this concept presented bilingually right from the jump really emphasizes something profound, I think, about the human brain.
It does. It highlights that this is a universal biological mechanism.
Right.
It doesn't matter what language you're running in your operating system, English, Vietnamese, or anything else. The underlying code of human neurobiology processes belief and repetition exactly the same way.
So it's not just a cultural trend.
No, not at all. The architecture of human thought operates on the identical basic principles across every culture on Earth. And the foundation of the source material we are looking at today starts by defining exactly what those principles are.
Right, before it even attempts to teach us how to actually use them, it doesn't just, hand you a list of things to say and send you on your way. It explains the baseline.
Yeah, it sets the stage.
So, looking at the image of the book's introduction, the opening lines are incredibly striking. It says, Today is a new day. Today is a day for you to begin creating a joyous, fulfilling life.
It's very direct.
It is. It goes on. Today is the day for you to learn the secrets of life. You can change your life for the better. And then it hits you with the core thesis.
This is the best part.
It says, you already have the tools within you to do so. These tools are your thoughts and your beliefs.
That is the pivotal shift in perspective right there. The text is explicitly moving the locus of control from the outside world back to the individual.
Right, back to you.
Exactly. You already have the tools. You aren't waiting for a rescue ship. You are the captain of the ship.
It honestly makes me think of discovering that your smartphone has had a hidden developer mode this entire time.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Like, we walk around letting the world program us, We let the morning news, our high-stress environments, or our past traumas just install all these default apps and notification settings in our brains without our permission.
Yeah, all that bloatware just running in the background.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this text is essentially handing over the manual and saying, hey, you can unlock developer mode right now. You can actually write the code for your own operating system using your thoughts and beliefs.
What's fascinating here is how the text frames that process of coding. If you look closely at both the book image and the excerpted text, they both place a massive emphasis on a specific phrase.
Releasing limitations.
Yes, releasing limitations. The text explicitly says, today is the day to begin to release all your limitations.
So it's not just adding things.
Right. It frames the use of affirmations, not just as adding something new and shiny on top of your current mindset, but as a deeply necessary process of unburdening yourself.
So it's not just stacking a layer of positive thoughts on top of a mountain of negative ones.
That is the trap most people fall into. You cannot build a stable new house on a rotten foundation.
Makes sense.
The text notes that old fears, doubts, and negative beliefs often stay in the mind for years. They act like background malware greening your battery.
Going back to the tech analogy, I like it.
So the tools, your thoughts and beliefs, are first used as a mechanism for clearing away the debris before you even start building the new structure. You have
Yeah.
to actively uninstall the old software before the new operating system can function smoothly.
Okay, let's unpack this, because this is exactly where my own internal skeptic usually starts raising a hand.
Yeah.
If we know that the tools are our thoughts and beliefs, the natural next step is figuring out how saying a few words translates into actual tangible changes in a person's life.
Which is the big question.
Right. Because I have to admit, if I'm standing in front of a mirror and I genuinely feel like I am failing at my job, but I force myself to say, I am incredibly successful, my brain knows I'm lying.
Of course it does.
Doesn't that just create cognitive dissonance? Doesn't that just feel like toxic positivity? I mean, is there actual machinery behind this, or are we just closing our eyes and hoping for magic?
That is the exact right pushback. And the source material actually anticipates that exact skepticism.
Oh, really?
Yes. The text explicitly warns the reader about this trap. It states very clearly, an affirmation is not magic by itself.
So the text admits there are no magic wands.
No magic wands at all. And to address your point about cognitive dissonance, the text doesn't tell you to lie to yourself. Instead, it outlines a very specific logical causal chain.
Okay.
It breaks down the mechanics of change step by step. Here's the sequence provided in the source. First, words influence the mind.
Got it.
Second, the mind influences action. Third, this repetition shapes our inner attitude. And finally, that shifted inner attitude begins to affect our daily choices.
So it's a funnel. It starts with the language, filters down into the mind, and ultimately outputs as behavior.
Exactly. But let's dig into the how of that funnel, because it relies on real cognitive science. It isn't that the words magically alter the fabric of the universe to bring you a new car or a promotion.
Right. It's not about manifesting a sports car out of thin air.
No. It's that the words alter the filter through which your mind perceives the universe. Think about the reticular activating system in your brain.
The network that decides what information to let in and what to ignore.
Precisely. If you constantly tell yourself you are failing, your brain will look for evidence to prove you right. It will highlight every tiny mistake.
It's just scanning for failure.
But if you change the language, you instruct that filter to look for different evidence, which in turn alters how you behave and the choices you make on a Tuesday morning.
You know, the text actually gives a really perfect, concrete example of this contrast in action, which avoids that cognitive dissonance we talked about.
Yeah, it's a great example.
It points out the dead end phrase so many of us use by default, I cannot do this.
Which is a full stop.
Exactly, a brick wall. But instead of just replacing that with a blindly optimistic, I am perfect and can do anything instantly, the text offers a dynamic, process-oriented alternative.
Right.
It suggests saying, I am learning, I am growing, and I am becoming stronger each day.
Notice the vast difference in the structure of those two phrases. I cannot do this is a fixed state. It leaves no room for movement or neuroplasticity.
You're just stuck.
But I am learning, I am growing is an active, ongoing process. Even if you feel like you are failing, your brain can accept I am learning as the truth because failure is part of learning.
The cognitive dissonance just vanishes.
Exactly. The text explains that this simple change creates a different energy inside us. But the crucial rule, the engine that actually drives this causal chain, is what the text calls repetition with awareness.
Repetition with awareness. So it's not just mindlessly reciting lines while you're scrolling on your phone or making coffee.
No, mindless repetition is just background noise. The excerpt says an affirmation becomes powerful when spoken with feeling, belief, and daily practice.
So you have to actually be present.
You are consciously, deliberately carving a new neural pathway. Think of it like walking through a dense forest. The first time you push through the brush, it's difficult.
Sure.
That's your first affirmation. But the more you walk that exact path with awareness, the clearer the trail becomes. Eventually, it becomes a paved road.
It becomes the default route your mind takes when faced with a challenge, replacing that old, I cannot do this pathway.
Exactly.
So now that we understand the mechanical chain, from the words we consciously speak to the neurobiological pathways we carve, and finally the daily choices we make, we should look at the specific areas of our lives that this practice actually targets.
The practical application.
Right. As you look through the text, you start to see these three core themes or pillars: emerge naturally from the practice.
Yeah, and when you start weeding that mental garden, you notice an immediate shift in how you perceive your day. You start spotting opportunities instead of just staring at obstacles.
Which is the first pillar.
Right. The text refers to this first overarching benefit as creating a joyful life. It links joy directly to perception.
That goes right back to the idea of altering your mental filter, your reticular activating system. The opportunities for joy or success were always there in your environment. You just couldn't see them because your brain was firmly tuned to the obstacle frequency.
You change the frequency, you change what you receive. And as you maintain that new frequency, you naturally move into the second major benefit the text outlines.
Releasing limitations.
Yes, releasing limitations. This is that continuous, gradual process of unburdening we touched on earlier.
Yeah.
You stop defining yourself by your past failures.
And as those old, heavy limitations fall away, the text suggests we arrive at the third benefit, which is connecting to the inner source.
That's a big one.
It really is. The text makes a profound point here. It says that peace, confidence, creativity, and even happiness often come from within, not from outside circumstances.
Right, which brings us right back to our original mission today for the learner listening, the internal toolkit. It's all an inside job.
To illustrate how all of this actually works over a lifetime, the text offers a really beautiful grounding metaphor that ties the whole concept together. It states, every word can become a seed.
That's probably my favorite line in the whole source.
Well, let me stop you right there, because if every word is a seed, my mind immediately goes to the negative.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Does that mean we have accidentally been planting a massive garden of weeds every single time we complain, or catastrophize, or doubt ourselves out loud?
Right.
Think about your own morning routine for a second, learner. While you're brushing your teeth, are you already rehearsing a stressful argument with your boss? Because if my negative words are seeds too, I've got a whole lot of mental crabgrass taking over my lawn before I've even had my coffee.
That is an incredibly accurate and sobering way to interpret the metaphor. And it validates exactly why the unburdening process is so critical. You have been planting seeds your whole life, often completely unconsciously.
Just tossing weed seeds everywhere.
Right. When you sit in traffic and mutter, "My whole day is ruined," you just planted a seed of frustration that your brain will water for the next 8 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the text provides a reassuring counterweight to that realization. It says, every seed, with patience, can grow into a better life. I want to put a massive spotlight on that word, patience.
Right, because you don't plant a tomato seed, water it once, and then stand over it screaming, "Where is my tomato?" the very next morning.
Exactly. The agricultural metaphor is deeply deliberate. Growth is organic. Think about a seed in the ground. For a long period, it is entirely unseen.
Right, nothing is happening on the surface.
The roots are developing underground in the dark. If you dig it up every day to see if it's growing, you kill it. It requires consistent daily tending.
So repetition with awareness.
Yes. Your lips speak the words, but your mind is the soil receiving the message. Over time, and only over time, your life begins to reflect what you consistently plant inside yourself.
That is such a powerful visual, and it perfectly transitions us from the theoretical planting of seeds into the highly practical application, because the sources we have today don't just leave us with sweeping metaphors, they give us the actual seeds to plant.
They do.
We have a full provided text titled The Daily Morning Affirmation Script.
Yes, moving from theory to practice.
Yeah.
What does this actually sound like when you wake up on a random Wednesday morning and need to face the world?
Well, let's walk through it, because the chronology of this script is fascinating. It starts with what I'd call the welcome. The very first lines are, "Good morning. Today is a new day. I welcome this new day with peace, gratitude, and hope."
It sets the tone immediately.
It does. Then it immediately moves to set the intention. Today, I choose positive thoughts. Today, I choose calm energy. Today, I choose to move forward with confidence.
Notice the specific active verbs being used there. I welcome. I choose.
Right. It's not passive.
Exactly. It isn't saying, I hope today is good, which leaves it up to chance. I choose establishes absolute agency right from the moment of waking. You are taking the wheel.
Then, in the very next breath, the script moves to the release. It says, I release yesterday's worries. I release fear and doubt. I let go of the limitations that no longer serve me.
There's the unburdening in real time. You are actively, consciously choosing not to carry yesterday's baggage into today's timeline. You are clearing the soil before planting today's seeds.
And once the soil is clear, it moves into the claiming of power. This is my absolute favorite part.
It's very empowering.
It is. It says, I believe that I can grow. I believe that I can learn. I believe that every small step I take has meaning. And then it gets really specific about the internal tools we've been talking about. It
Right.
says, I already have many strength within me. I have the power to think clearly. I have the power to speak kindly. I have the power to choose wisely. You know, my first instinct when reading this script is that it feels like putting on a heavy suit of mental armor before you step out your front door to battle the day.
Actually, it goes much deeper than that, and I might challenge the idea of armor.
Oh, really? Why?
Well, armor implies rigidity. It implies you are expecting an attack and you need to deflect it. If we connect this to the bigger picture of the text, the final lines of this script are perhaps the most revealing about its true purpose.
Okay, go on.
The script does not promise a perfect, conflict-free day. It doesn't say, today nothing will go wrong, everyone will agree with me, and my armor will protect me.
Right, there's no toxic positivity. It's not pretending bad things don't exist.
Precisely. Instead, the script says, whatever comes today, I will meet it with balance. I will meet it with courage. I will meet it with an open heart.
An open heart.
Yes, an open heart is the opposite of armor. This is about building resilient, adaptable energy. It finishes with, I trust the process of life. I trust that each day teaches me something valuable. I trust that I am becoming stronger.
It fully acknowledges that challenges will come.
Exactly, but it preloads the mind with the belief that those challenges are educational, not destructive.
Whatever comes today, I will meet it with balance. That is incredibly grounding. So my armor analogy was off.
Just a bit.
It's less like putting on a suit of armor to fight the day and more like adjusting the shock absorbers on your car before a long drive.
That's a perfect analogy.
You are still going to hit potholes. The road will still be bumpy. But your mind is now calibrated to absorb the impact without throwing you entirely off the road. It removes the anxiety of trying to control the external potholes and focuses entirely on controlling the internal suspension system.
Which is ultimately the only thing we actually have control over anyway. You cannot control the traffic, the weather, or your coworkers. You only control the suspension system.
True.
The script ends by solidifying this new beginning. Today I create a better life with my thoughts, words, and actions. I am ready, I am grateful, I am present. It ties the entire causal chain we discussed earlier, thoughts, words, actions, into a neat daily commitment.
It really is a complete foundational toolkit. So what does this all mean? For you listening right now, taking all of this in, the true secret of affirmations isn't mystical. It isn't magic.
No magic.
It is the daily, patient practice of consciously choosing the words that shape your inner attitude, which in turn dictate your daily choices, which ultimately construct the physical reality of your life.
Absolutely.
It's turning on the developer mode of your own mind and refusing to let your internal dialogue run on an unhelpful weed-growing autopilot. Here's where it gets really interesting, though, and a little provocative. So what does this actually mean for you tomorrow morning when your alarm goes off?
Well, this raises an incredibly important and maybe slightly uncomfortable question to leave you with. We've just spent this deep dive learning how profoundly powerful our chosen words are in shaping our neurobiology, our perceptions, and our actions.
Right.
We know for a fact that every word is a seed. But if you don't actively choose your affirmations, whose words are you silently repeating?
Wow.
If you aren't intentionally planting your own seeds of growth, balance, and resilience, what is the noisy external world planting in your mind while you aren't paying attention?
That is a thought that will definitely linger. If you leave the soil of your mind unattended, the world will happily plant weeds for you. But you have the tools, you have the power to choose your words. We highly encourage you to take this toolkit out into the world, unlock your developer mode, and see what kind of garden you can grow. As the final line of our source script says so simply and so perfectly, have a good day.